Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday. We're always delighted that you show your support. So many people have been sending us messages telling us they've been with us for the full 10 years, and we are absolutely delighted. If you have just found out about PLZ Soccer and the Football Show, then why not hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, share it, tell your friends, and you can also download the PLZ Soccer app as well, and you'll get all the latest breaking football news. And thank you to so many of you who are listening into the podcast as well. We really appreciate your support. Ruffy's here, Alison McConnell is here, and so is Tam McManus. We've always got something to give you, and we've always got winners every week all the way through to the summer. So first and foremost, last week the competition's over. I'll announce the winner shortly. Here's the new competition.
We have another superb competition here at PLZ Soccer. You can win one of our very own Maestro tops from the PLZ Soccer shop, along with a poster of Celtic legend Danny McGrain or Rangers legend Davy Cooper. All you have to do is answer this simple question: which year did Scotland last qualify for a World Cup? Post your answer in the comment section below, and when we pick our winner, we'll contact you to find out which poster you would like and which colour of Maestro top you would like to wear. And don't forget to double your chances of winning. Hit the like and hit the subscribe button and join us on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
That's Kerry's catchphrase. I love it now. Every competition, good luck. It's a payoff line. It's absolutely magnificent. So you get to pick any Maestro top, whichever colour suits you, your size, and you can pick a huge poster of Danny McGrain or Davy Cooper. So it's one or the other. You might, if you want, pick the blue Maestro top with the Davy Cooper poster, or indeed you might want to pick red or black, whatever suits you. They're really good for wearing at the golf as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, they certainly are. Tam wears his regularly.
Yeah.
I wear mine, and the prints are real life.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Fantastic. By the artist Jim Scullion. So well worthy of your consideration for the competition. I think it's an absolute belter. Ali wears her top as well. It's a good one, isn't it,
Yes.
Ali?
You only get the green one.
Yeah.
I've got the black one. Goes
Yeah, so shut it. That's Ali's way of saying so shut it. Anyway, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share it all, and if you do hit the subscribe button, then it doubles your chances of being in with the chance of winning that. Also, I'd like to say well done to our winner from last week, which is a girl called Rachel Docherty. Rachel, congratulations to you. You're the winner of the pendant from Legia Warsaw and the Legia Warsaw hoodie with Artur Boric's name and number on the back of it. I hope you enjoy your prize. I think this week is a special one. In the next couple of weeks, we've got two crackers for you, a Hibs and a Hearts prize the week after. So there's some really, really good chances to win with our competitions. There you are. Doesn't get any better than that. Thank you also to people who are posting messages to us. I like the boy George who posted a message. Tell that wee Ned. Tell that wee Ned McManus not to pick on Ruffy for his Skechers. and by the way, he's leathered you and went, love the show. So it's always good when you get that kind of a nice little cuddle and then a right hook, Ali. I like that kind of email. You can actually message us on our app in the submissions section, and we'll look over what you've got to say. So well done to Rachel, our competition winner. What about the quiz question? Well, with Ali commenting on PLZ Soccer's columnist, she commented on Alfredo Morelos, and the comments coming from Michael Beale about the future of the Rangers striker. It looks as if his days are well and truly numbered, and he could be on his way. Seville is potentially the place that he's being linked with to leave in the summer, absolutely free. And I think the basis of your column on PLZ Soccer was it was an opportunity missed, and it looks as if his days are indeed numbered.
Yeah, I think Rangers should have cashed in when they could have, and I know that there were bloated suggestions of fees that they wanted or fees that they could have got. I don't think it ever reached the heights that were quoted at points. However, there were offers on the table. They might not have got as much as he would have wanted, but he wouldn't have been leaving for nothing at the end of the season. I think when he was at his height, it would have been I think it's sensible to try and cash in on players, recycle that through the team, reinvest in the team, rebuild the team. I think it's been a very stagnant pond at Rangers for a few seasons now. I think it's crying out for reinvestment and restructure. And when you lose a player of Alfredo Morelos' quality and the quality that he had and showed at one point, you know, you have to remember he's Rangers' all-time greatest goal scorer in European football, 122 goals I think it is he's got for the club. There was a point where I think they would have commanded a decent fee for him, and I think it would have been sensible to have cashed in on it at that point.
Yeah, so with that in mind, here's our question regarding Alfredo Morelos. From which club did Rangers sign striker Alfredo Morelos? We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. If you think you know, then why not tell us who you think it is. Do you know, Ruffy?
No.
Do you know?
I don't know. So.
Yeah, do you, Ali? Yeah, okay. I love the way you looked at me there. What are you looking at me for? I know the answer. Shut it. Brilliant, Ali. It's just that cold stare towards me. And then I thought better of even asking you. So we'll give you the answer at the end of the programme if you don't know. Rangers 3, Wraith Rovers 0. It was a tough watch, but in the end, Rangers they managed to do the job.
Yeah, I think Wraith Rovers came with a game plan to try and stifle Rangers and defend the numbers. Didn't really threaten, apart from the opening minute when Galvez nearly scored for the halfway line. Great effort, but apart from that, Wraith Rovers just camped in, and it was up to Rangers to break them down. They get the header right before half time, and the goal right after half time. You think this could be 4 or 5, but Wraith Rovers, to their credit, hung in and they dug in and they didn't let it get out of control. I think they can come out of that game with their head held high, but Rangers huffed and puffed, a lot of possession, how many crosses they put in the box, tons of crosses, and to get 3 goals, I think, a wee bit disappointing. I think they'd expected to score 4 or 5 with the amount of possession, the amount of crosses and chances they had, but to be fair, they're in the next round of the Cup and that's all that matters. But I think Michael Beale would have been expecting, after the Hibs performance, a little bit better from them.
Yeah, I think certainly a more entertaining game. The Rangers manager first to acknowledge that the fans might have thought that was a hard watch as well.
Everyone was expecting us to be free-flowing like we were midweek, but styles make games, and I thought they stayed in and made it really difficult at times. They had 10 players in and around their 18-yard box, and they were blocking little things, and it's fine. We have to find a way to get through that. You saw Kilmarnock in the second half last week went really defensive as well after he was 3-0 up. It's fine, it makes for a sticky game. I think the really top teams who pay millions and millions for their players find their moments difficult. We'll go away and work on it.
I mean, I look at it philosophically with Michael Beale's team. I don't think it is his team. So he's getting the best out of a team that, remember, were lacklustre, at times predictable under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. So I can see the team drastically changing. But Wraith Rovers, as Tam mentioned, did come with a game plan just to try and thwart them at every opportunity, which is what you would expect.
Yeah, and he would have expected it as well. I think Tam touched on a good point there, the crosses into the box. It's a different kind of cross when you see the Celtic crosses. Everything's up in the air. Everything's easy. There's 2 centre-halves just going and attacking balls. It's a lottery. Whereas the Celtic crosses are all skimming across the ground, and it's all about pace and coming in. So it's easier to defend the fancy crosses that are coming into the box. But they're winning games. I don't get the protests and all that. Obviously, it's a bit upstairs. They're not happy with what's happened up there, but they should realise they should get behind the team. The team need the support there, particularly that support that never turned up at the weekend. So they really need to get their act together. Yeah, I mean, they're winning games. I mean, I always try and look at the bigger picture on this one. This is a manager who's come in and inherited a squad. A lot of those players won't be there. He's got about 9 or 10. I think his biggest role and his biggest job will be transforming that squad into a team that he wants, the team that will play the way he wants as well, because I don't think we've seen the Michael Beale true style, because I don't think he's got the players to play it.
I would agree with you, and I think you would have to say, if you look at his record, he's lost 1 game. He lost the Cup game to Celtic, and he dropped points to Celtic at Ibrox. I think there was an argument that Rangers were probably the better team that day in January, could have won it, would have opened the title race right up. So I'm not sure there's a big chasm between the teams just now that the league table would suggest. You look at that 9-point gap. I think Celtic are a better team just now. I think they're beyond anyone just now. I think you would fancy that Celtic would be odds on to go and win a domestic treble this season. But I think you can see a change in culture at Rangers. I think you can see the identity that he's trying to present within the team. I think he came in and he's got a tune out of a team that were faltering in the opening half of the season. I think there's a number of players, now he's at 9, who are all out of contract between now and the end of the season. I think it will be a very different side that starts the season in August, and I think he would feel quietly satisfied that the team isn't playing entirely the way he wants it just now, but he's not losing games. The period between him coming in and the end of the season was about putting down foundations for a new season.
Yeah, Tam, when you look at the biggest job that he faces, I also think suddenly that focus of attention then switches to the boardroom, because they have to back him. They have to find the money to give him the players that he wants to actually execute the style that he wants Rangers to play next season.
Yeah, I think he obviously, coming from QPR, he must have had assurances from the board that he was going to get money to spend at the end of the season. I don't think he was obviously going to get it in that window there, but I think the end of the season, as Ali said there, that next season is the be all and end all for Rangers. This season is just try to figure out who he wants to keep, who he wants to get rid of. He's had a great opportunity in the summer with a blank canvas with 9 players out of contract. He can pick and choose the ones he wants to keep, and he can use those wages to bring other players in, maybe on free transfers. So I think the board need to back them, but if they've got the money, we'll find out in the summer how much Rangers have got to spend, but they've got to try and close the gap on Celtic between now and the end of the season. And judging with the cup final, I think they've still got a bit to go to close that gap on Celtic.
Yeah, as far as the fans that you're talking about who aren't there, the Union Bears, I think, decided that they didn't want to actually turn up. They were in protest because I think Rangers certainly weren't going to allow them to put up a banner that they wanted to put up. So the fans are unhappy. Well, that section of the support is unhappy, and they've been critical of the board as well. So there's no resolution to that. I think sometimes it's a very difficult job for Rangers and Celtic to actually gauge good atmosphere, good support, but with banners that can get the club into trouble. And then I think sometimes there is a danger that these groups, have got this tremendous amount of self-importance that they are the be-all and end-all, when really, I think it's a difficult way to try and just difficult. Judge.
I think it's a very precarious line. I think there's also a danger that the kind of ultra support, if you like, for want of a better word, and I would classify the Green Brigade and the Union Bears there, it's almost like they become a representative of the full attendance that they are, the voice of the support, they carry the soul of the club almost. I think that's a very dangerous road to go down, but I think politically it can be very difficult. You want the energy in the stadium, you want the atmosphere in the stadium. I think sometimes both at Celtic Park and at Ibrox you've been in games where you think you've walked into a sponsored silence at times.
Yeah.
It's been so quiet. I think they have enlivened the atmosphere, but I think there's certain ways you have to be able to trust them to work within the parameters of the legalities that work within the club.
Yeah, and you also have to be able to police them.
Well,
yeah, and I think that the realisation is that anything they do that everybody finds offensive is bringing the name of their club down, and there hasn't been many good things that they've been doing. I mean, there's Celtic at the weekend again releasing all the flares, and the club have already went out of their way, said, look, the flares are dangerous, they're going to cost us money and fines, don't do it, and then they do it. And the Rangers fans are throwing up banners and they're saying, don't do that, don't offend anybody, and they're doing that. So you're right in what the two of you are saying. Where is the happy middle? Who do you bring them in and have a chat with them, and if it doesn't work, then they just carry on doing what they're doing?
Yeah. Anyway, apart from anything else, there was actually a statement released by Rangers regarding the absence of the Union Bears. Rangers refused to allow an offensive banner relating to the police service to be displayed at today's match. The Union Bears elected to absent themselves from the stadium because the club could not permit the offensive anti-police banner display. So, once you start using the club as a platform for messages, we've already witnessed over the last week someone who even, on a freelance basis offered a tweet out that caused an absolute furore in the broadcasting. So certainly the clubs have faced a difficult fine line, Tam, and I think the more you let them in, and there is a suggestion of the Green Brigade taking the whole end behind the goal, I think that's I think that's going to be very, very difficult to police, control them, and then get them in line when they want to continually, either throw up banners or sing songs that nobody wants to hear.
It is, and Ruffy's right. There's got to be a happy medium in terms of what you can bring in and what you can't. Power of free speech, obviously, in this country, but it's got to be within reason. And if you're getting into trouble with banners and flares, then they've got to put a stop to that. But they do bring a lot of colour and a lot of atmosphere to both stadiums. So it's up to the clubs to get round the table, I think, and sort it out.
Yeah.
I think as well, like what you have to remember is that people go to games, like everyone goes to games to support a club, to support a team. The people that would have been worst affected at the weekend's game is the Rangers players that you run out in that section of the ground. It's normally the noisiest, the most atmospheric, that you're looking at empty seats.
I'll tell you what I don't like, the Wally, that's creeping in is the fact that they're meeting sets of fans before the game and having running battles in the streets. That's another worry that escalates once you allow more and more of them to go.
Yeah, the organisation of that is something that I think is a serious cause for concern, and I think that becomes a police matter. I think you have to be able to infiltrate whatever organisation goes in, because that doesn't happen by chance. That happens through pre-arrangements and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, flip side of that, let's not forget, Wraith Rovers were there in the quarterfinals. Deserve credit because they are in a lower division, and Ian Murray was quick to praise his players and the ambition of the club.
My emotion right now is pride of the football players. I thought they were excellent. I thought the discipline and shape and structure that they carried out was great, and also the pride in the football club, the support that we brought today, and the appreciation they showed us towards the end. It's been a tough season. We had to rebuild a little bit. We all know what happened last season at Wraith Rovers, and we're trying to rebuild the football club.
They made a go of it. They tried for the players that they had, Tam. Just in the end, the quality wasn't there.
Yeah, I texted Ian before the game and wished him all the best, and he says we're down to the bare bones. He had quite a few players missing, so
if Goncalves' shot goes in though, he could have lived off it forever.
It wasn't that far away, by we had McGregor scrambling. It was a great effort, but listen, I think Wraith Rovers were there. I don't think anybody gave them a hope of winning the game, but listen, it was a plum draw for them, for the directors, and financially, it can help them greatly with their try to get out the championship maybe next year.
Yeah, okay. And of course, we're going to talk about the other quarter-final draws, although I like Hugh Scott saying, I wonder which of the balls will be the hot ball and which is going to be the cold ball for the big draw, Ruffy, to keep Celtic and Rangers apart. We shall see, Hugh. Hearts 0, Celtic 3. And, although you did mention that you don't think there's a big gap, I think financially there's a huge gap. And I think what the Celtic are producing at the moment, Ruffy, I mean, they are like a well-oiled machine. It is relentless. It is, at times, the football is a joy to watch.
Yeah, we seem to be saying that every Monday we come in here, the exact same words, the exact same performance on the park. They don't let it drop at all. If anything, they get better. And every player that gets a chance to be in the 11 is really turning it on. I've already went for Hatate to be the player of the year. I've changed my mind now. I'm going to go for Kyogo. I think he's got to win it. I think he's absolutely a breath of fresh air in everything he does.
You changed from who?
From Hatate. But Hatate's still in my 4.
Yeah.
But,
just because he scored a goal at the weekend?
No, I just think what he brings to the game, he excites me. Every time the ball gets up there, there's something going to happen. So, just change my mind. It's a wee while to go, so I might change back again.
Yeah, I mean, his goal was sublime.
Listen, his movements, it's Larsson-esque. It really is. As soon as that ball goes wide, he's getting across people, and the technique just to back heel, it's a very difficult skill. I've tried that a few times myself and fell flat in my face, but it's just getting that timing when the ball comes in and just clipping it by the goalkeeper with your back heel. It was a wonderful finish. And as Ruffy says, he is an exciting player to watch. I find myself watching him when the ball's wide. I don't even look at the cross, I just look at him in the box to see his movement. And any young striker, I would implore them to go and watch him and just watch his movement, because he's always trying to get across the front post, and that's where you get a lot of goals. So he's getting great service, but his movement, dictates it, and his finishing this season has been fantastic. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about the PFA Player of the Year awards, Alison, because if he does win it, I'm going to have to learn Japanese from coming up onto the stage, because I'm not quite sure if he speaks any, although I sometimes think they may well be, gathering as much English as they possibly can as the weeks and months go on.
Yeah, I think he's a shoo-in for it, to be honest with you. I think the bare minimum he'll finish the season with is 30 goals, and I think it'll probably eclipse that. I think I think he's just an extraordinary talent. I think his movement is exceptional. I think it's his movement that makes the player almost. I think he's very, very clever. And I think it's maybe taken the people who play around him a bit of time just to get used to that movement and to try and read the runs all the time. I think you heard Dan Postecoglou saying just after the Hearts midweek game that sometimes they're still not up to speed with him. I think he's very clever. I think Celtic's challenge will be how long do you keep him, where does he go, and can you replace him when he goes. But I think for now he's there to be enjoyed. I think he's head and shoulders above anyone else in the league.
Yeah, and again the first goal, you know, when Jota picks out Moy, I mean, straight into the back of the net. They could have scored actually inside 2 minutes. I mean, they were absolutely on fire.
Well, we say that they either get you at the beginning or they get you at the end. You know, it's either the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes. That's where they target all their goals, you know, and it's very difficult to defend when a team comes at you like that, you know, and they create two chances so early on, because that means you're on the back foot. You're like, oh my God, here they come again, sort of a thing. So
I thought Moy was going to be a bit part player, Ruffy. He really has surprised me.
Yeah. Well, it looks as if there's been a lot of research done on him, you know, from his time, you know, not in the country and then where he's been, you know. So they've really looked at him and said, when he's been making the jigsaw, his team, for some reason he's found a place for him, you know, with the other players that he's brought in, and he's just slotted right in there, and he's been super.
Yeah.
Yep, as I said, after that St Mirren game where Celtic lost, where they made a lot of changes, I think you get a lot of criticism that game, him in particular, which was unfair. He came in that game and was poor along with Celtic as a team, but you know, what a bounce back from that. You know, he's come back in. A lot of Celtic fans after that game would have just been thinking to themselves, he's not going to do anything at the club, but he's one of the players that's probably in the running for Player of the Year as well. Celtic have got a ton of them, but that just shows you, you know, how consistent they've been as a team this season. You know, I think they've only dropped points against St Mirren and Rangers, so you know they're going to have, you know, 6 or 7 potentially in line for the Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to talk about Hearts at the moment because obviously there was a couple of players that should have been there that were not in the starting lineup again, and they'd lost to Celtic in midweek. But when we were talking about the quality, Starfelt picks up an injury, in comes Kobayashi. Haksabanovic, okay, he gets subbed after 60, 70 minutes, but I think he could be, I think if he gets a run in the team, I think he could be a key player as well, Haksabanovic. I don't think Celtic fans have seen the best of him either.
I think he'll be itching to just get a run at it because he's never really had it since coming in, and then the sort of stop-start nature of being injured and then not being able to get back into the team, and you can see why he's not been able to get in when you see the form of Maeda and of Jota. But he'd have been disappointed, I think, not to have scored at Hampden against Rangers, the one that he drew wide after going through. But I think he certainly looks as though he's got something to offer. The goal, obviously, midweek against Hearts was pretty special. I think it just shows you, just illustrates the depth that Celtic have at the minute when people are injured or they go out, that they've got resources and they've got like for like in terms of quality of being able to bring in replacements.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing, no sooner does Tam call for the replacement of Joe Hart and he makes a wonder double save.
Yeah. It was a magnificent save, you know. It's one of the ones, I don't think it would have turned the game. I think Celtic eventually would have won it anyway, but certainly it's a super save. And he got up, his reaction to get up, and the boy followed through. And it was good to have that reaction as well, but it was a fantastic save.
Yeah, Celtic manager well happy with the team's efforts. 2 wins against Hearts.
A challenging week for us, you know. We played sort of Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, so and the last game is, you know, the one that we knew was going to be the most intensive, just the nature of it being a cup game away from home, particularly here at Tynecastle. And yeah, I thought the lads handled it really well. We started the game really strongly and, you know, for the most part dominated the game, played some great football, and yeah, credit to them, they've navigated the whole week really well.
Is there any slack you can cut Hearts because didn't have Shanklin, didn't have Robert Snodgrass?
Yeah, it wouldn't have made any difference. Celtic are streets ahead of Hearts at the minute, and you know, they showed that in the game. Hearts had little spells. I think if the goal goes in, it's a great save of Hart maybe, and he changes the game. But Celtic were so comfortable. You know, I think they were gears to go up any time they wanted. You know, Hearts huff and puff in the second half, but I just think the gap between, you know, we've said it so many times, I think there's a gap between Celtic and Rangers, but in particular the gap between Celtic, Rangers and your Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibs is monumental at the minute, and I don't know how we close that, you know, financially or a bigger league, you know, or whatever, but it can't be great to watch if you're a fan of of a Hearts or a Hibs or an Aberdeen, and now you're coming up against Celtic, Rangers, and you're not competitive. You know, it's been a long time since teams like that have not really been competitive, and you know, every game I see at the minute, Rangers Hearts, Rangers Hibs, even Celtic against Hibs, different games, it's an absolute cakewalk, and I don't know how we're going to cut that gap.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm going to throw that to Ali in a moment, but obviously Robbie Neilson, like many managers, not happy with the way they conceded the goals.
I think the crushing blow was the goal just before half time. That was a real hard one, because we, you know, from a set play throw in, we weren't set up, and then, you know, we know that Kyle will go 99 times out of 100 will make that front post run, and we allowed him to make it. So that was probably the key moment in the game.
Yeah, I got a message here. Gordon McLean says, Peter, if Hearts are the third force in Scotland, God help Scottish football. And that point is rammed home when you consider that if Rangers and Celtic make the group stages of the Champions League, the money that's now being kicked into teams that get to the group stages takes them way beyond, never mind the strength of the support that they have coming week in, week out.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think the gap between Celtic and Rangers and everyone else just now is the widest that it's been for a while. I think you can see just how far ahead they are. Rangers could conceivably still end up with a points tally that in another campaign would have won the league, and yet Celtic will be out of sight. So that would be a reflection of how consistent they've been perhaps in the latter half of the season. But you can only see them getting stronger with the resources that they have, the financial element of it. Celtic are very good at recycling players. You've seen it. You saw Josip Juranovic go out, and you've replaced him almost with a better player. You've banked the profit. There's money to reinvest. It's a structure that's been in place for more than a decade. It's been fairly successful in terms of keeping the club on a very strong financial heel, and you would just expect them to go on. The challenge for Celtic and for Rangers is to try then and compete and narrow the gap when they experience the same thing. Converse of a domestic situation when they go into Europe, and then you have the same gap between them and obviously the European heavyweights and the Champions League players that have the resources that they don't. But I don't think there's an easy answer when it comes to saying how do you bridge the gap and how do you make the league more competitive. I'm just not sure that there's an easy answer for it, and I think. Well,
that's what the new Scottish football marketing team will have to try and bring in more money for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing that came out today that showed the number of young players that are coming through at every club, and just how the paucity of minutes that under 21 players have had at clubs would reflect the fact that there's just not enough young Scottish players coming through into the league and going into a team and staying in the team. I think Rangers have brought in 2 or 3 this season, maybe just struggled to stay. I know the boy Alex Lowry's been injured, but there's been, like Leon King struggling then to go in and keep your place when regular players are fully fit. Yeah,
well, that's another programme, another day. The size of the league means it's cutthroat, and people are 7, 8 teams are fighting off relegation. That's a whole programme in itself. But just one little point I want to get you guys your thoughts on this. Obviously, we've mentioned that Michael Beale is trying to build his side. I'm hearing all sorts of superlatives about Ange Postecoglou's Celtic side, and I think they deserve tremendous credit. And now there's the big comparisons that always happen. Ange Postecoglou is building a side that's it's fantastic to watch. It's better than Martin O'Neill's. It's better than Gordon Strachan's or Neil Lennon's side. The only flip side to that is how good are they, Ruffy? And I would offer a couple of things as a caveat to this. Martin O'Neill's side was playing against a number of good teams. I thought there was a stronger Rangers definitely when Martin O'Neill took on Dick Advocaat's Rangers side, and there was a couple other teams that had good quality players in there. Gordon Strachan had half the budget of Martin O'Neill and still managed to get them into the knockout stages of the Champions League, and Neil Lennon's side, first time around, produced some good performances, namely against Barcelona with Tony Watt scoring. So I just wonder, because I think the standard of clubs out with Celtic, Rangers and Hearts is poorer than 20 years ago.
I was just going to say that the other night. I think Celtic, the only time Celtic will be tested when we go into Europe against really, really good sides. Just like you said there, I think Rangers have done well. I think Hearts to a certain extent, but it just shows you how poor our SPL is. We've got 2 semi-finals, and apart from Rangers and Celtic, there's no Premiership teams in it. You've got two championship sides and a first division team in the semi-finals, could be in the semi-finals. Not one Premiership team is in the semi-final. I think that just shows you how poor the rest of them are.
Yep, I totally agree. I think Celtic are a very, very good side, a very, very good manager, but they are not playing anywhere near the quality that Martin O'Neill's team was playing. You know, I was playing back in that era, and Hearts and Hibs. Hearts were very good under Craig Levein. Hibs had a good side under Alec McLeish. Even Livingston, put a lot of money into it with Davy Hay and Jim Leishman. So I think the overall quality back there, it was harder to win games. I think Celtic and Rangers now are absolutely cakewalking it against Ross Counties, Kilmarnock's teams like that, and they're not getting tested. And Celtic's only test is going to come against Rangers 4 times a season, and in Europe. I don't think any of the other clubs are capable of got the quality to test Celtic.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. You might get odd games. You might have like the St Mirren game that you spoke about back in September. Surprise games where they toil or where they struggle to break a team down. But by and large, I think the quality is just not there. I think there's been a real drop off across recent seasons, and I think that's just reflected in the way that they're steamrolling teams. They're almost just brushing teams off.
Yeah. The big problem as well, Ali, I think, and all of us, and Ruffy's just touched on it there, is if the draw tonight suddenly pairs Celtic against Rangers in the semi-final, whoever wins is just looking at it and saying, well, we'll guarantee the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, I think no one will say it, no one's ever going to come out and say it, but yeah, that would be the received wisdom. You never know, of course, like football doesn't always go to plan, but yeah, essentially, you would see Celtic and Rangers as significantly stronger than Ayr or Falkirk or Inverness if that was who the finalists were. If
the draw tonight pairs Celtic against Rangers in the semi-final and either of them doesn't win the Scottish Cup, Ali, you are coming to the Champions League next season. You are our chief reporter at Champions League matches. How do you feel about that, Ali?
Here's my passport. I know. I know exactly what you're saying.
No, exactly. It's not that I don't want you to go to the Champions League with us. Still on the cards, Ali.
Why I think I don't think there'll be a Celtic Rangers semi-final.
Far be it from me to suggest that there would be a big ball and a wee ball.
No, I actually think, for that very reason, you want them to be separated. Because if you have a Celtic Rangers final, you have a big showcase event to bring the curtain down on the season.
It's just that people you get into a darkened room and just batter your head off a wall if it suddenly puts the two of them together in the semis.
Yeah, but the wee teams will not be saying that. No, the wee teams will be saying, I hope, please draw the two of them out together, because the rest of them, I mean, it's all right, every dog having his day, but if it was Ayr United or Falkirk or Inverness to get to final for the club themselves, it'd be an amazing occasion. It didn't matter if it was Rangers or Celtic they were playing, it'd be a fantastic day out for them. I mean, I know Inverness have been there recently. Ayr, I can't remember, or Falkirk the last time they were ever in I think Alec Totten. Did Alec Totten take Falkirk to a cup final?
Big Yogi took them. Big Yogi took them to a final.
So Ayr United are the ones that haven't been there for a wee while, and what a day that would be.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Okay, you can give us your thoughts on that. The other match...
I think the last time we were in a final was that when Kanchelski stood in the ball.
That semi-final.
Was that semi?
Semi,
is it?
yeah.
Not do a salute or something?
Yeah, he did that.
I think that was the final.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
Because I think Ayr United beat Hibs in the semi.
Yeah, and if Kanchelski stood in the ball, the immediate thing I was thinking was, as I looked at him standing on the ball, I thought, hope there's not an Ayr United player with about 5 yards, because he'd have been smashed.
Yogi and Pat McGinley and all that, I remember that actually.
Players used to sit in the ball as well, Ruffy's a noise up, didn't they?
He used to do it. Wee Bertie was favourite for doing that, and it's funny at the time. It looks
it's not funny.
You know if you're playing against them.
Yeah, it's not funny. It's not funny if you get a big bruising centre half coming towards you.
Smash.
Inverness 2, Kilmarnock 1. In the end, Killie, I'll tell you, if I was a Killie fan right now, I'd be actually thinking about the championship, because I can't see them getting out of it.
They're terrible. They're so poor, man. I watched the game. I thought when they got the goal, I thought, but Inverness, were by far the better team. For the end of the first half, all the second half, Kilmarnock were bereft of any I don't know, just quality, you know, in terms of the final third and creativity. They just lumped the ball up the park. If you're a Kilmarnock fan, you cannot be happy watching that style of play. You know, it was just hoofball the whole night, up with Doige and up with whoever. And I thought they thoroughly deserved to win Inverness, and fair play to Billy Dodge. I think Inverness need it as well. I think when you see their financial figures, they're in dire straits in terms of finance, and that could be their lucky, you know, that Queen's Park, you know, that error from their side could keep Inverness in business. It really could. I mean, they are struggling for money, and they're going to get 250 grand, I think, with the share of the pot for the semi-finals. And if they can stay away from Celtic and Rangers, they might find themselves in a Scottish Cup final, which, you know, after losing to Queen's Park, those players came in thinking they were at the Cup is absolutely incredible. Yeah,
Ruffy, the goalkeeper Sam Walker, was he at fault for the eventual winner?
I think the boy hit it at pace, and it did skid up just in front of him, but you would expect him to get a hand on it at least. He might have been unsighted till the last minute, but yeah, I would think if you'd asked him, you'd have said, yeah, I could have done better there.
Yeah, dubious penalty, Ali? No VAR.
No, I think that's really unfair, the no VAR. I think you either have it at every game or you don't have it at all. I think the tournament as a whole either has to offer it or not. I think that would be your bugbearer.
I don't think it would have been a penalty if there had been VAR. Do you?
Possibly.
I'm not sure. I think it still might have been given.
Yeah.
But it was funny that nobody had 100% suggestion of what that rule was. You know, I mean, a lot of people were, even on the air, the commentators were going, well, no, I think that rule was changed. It's no penalty if it hits your boot and hits your hand. And then somebody else said, oh, it is, like, that rule get changed. So,
yeah,
you know, there's no consistency.
I think it
there's nobody knows.
Back to what we've been talking about all season.
I think we need to go to Lars and then have a big. We need to go just before the season starts and sit with the referees. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, this is what Derek McInnes had to say on the defeat. I thought we were second best. Inverness wanted it more than us, and that's always a sad indictment of a team. It is never easy for a manager to accept that and say it. The penalty was harsh on us, and I thought we could have had one ourselves, but the better team won tonight. The team who deserved it won. We need to focus on finding a way to win enough points to stay in the league, because this is a real blow for us confidence-wise. Wow, when a manager says that, you know the writing's on the wall.
It is, and they're under serious pressure at home. They keep winning games, because away from home they are terrible. You know, I think they've won one game away from home all season, and that was Dundee United in the last round. They've picked up, I think, 2 points in the league, so their home form's keeping them off the bottom of the league. And the Kilmarnock fans are a wee bit of pressure, I think, starting to build on Derek McInnes amongst the Kilmarnock supporters after watching that performance, I would suggest. So, you know, the be-all and end-all for Kilmarnock this season is to stay in the division, but you know, if they start to drop points at home, you know, I really fear for them. And I know Ruffy fancies them to get relegated, and I think it's going to be out of them and Dundee United for the bottom two.
Yeah, Falkirk against Ayr United tonight, Ruffy, is I predicted Falkirk. What about yourself? Where are you going with it?
I've been impressed with Ayr any time we've played them at Partick Thistle, and I think Lee Bullen's done well with some of the players he's brought. Like about 3 or 4 players up for England. You know, they're a really hard, strong side. But again, Falkirk are at home, you know, they're on a nice wee run now. I just think this will go right to the wire, you know, like there's just be 1 goal will be in this, and I'm just saying Ayr United because I used to play for Ayr United once.
Yes. So just biased biased
play for 2 of them.
Is that
play for 2 of them?
Yeah,
well,
just look for the draw. Play for the 2 of them.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to penalties.
I was very surprised to see that Falkirk are the favourites for the bookies.
Yeah?
Yep, I thought Ayr United would have been favourites. I think that they are at the top end of the championship, and I think they've got a wee bit more quality and a wee bit more strength than Falkirk. So I would actually fancy Ayr United strongly. Sorry, Ayr United fans.
Yeah, Ali?
I fancy Ayr United as well. I saw them beat Morton last week. They were very convincing. I really like the boy Akinyemi. He's just he's
maybe Chris Maguire there as well, who's very good.
He's just such a handful for teams to try and cope with. Big, powerful, physical centre forward in among the goals. I don't think they'll keep him beyond the end of this season. But every time I've seen him, he's been too much for other defenders to cope with. I think Ayr will win quite comfortably tonight. Okay,
that's the quarter-final draw. Who do you think it's going to be from Falkirk against Ayr United? Who do you think is going to be paired together in the semi-final draw? It's huge. If it was Celtic against Rangers in the semi-finals, it's a real chance for the winner. to get that last piece of silverware of the season. It's absolutely massive. We'll all be watching with great interest on that. We'll react to it tomorrow on the show, as well as right across all our social media tonight. If you want to keep up to date with Falkirk against Ayr United, our reporter Kerry Pollock will be out there watching that game and giving us a preview, half-time and full-time across PLZ Soccer's app, the website, and of course on the YouTube channel too, as well as Twitter, let's not forget. Ruffy, in the Championship, you guys, was it an opportunity missed with that 0-0 draw?
It could have been worse. I think if Morton had won the game, they would have jumped above us. Yeah, so you've got to say the point that we got took us up a position, so that was a good part of it. I don't think it was much of a game, to tell you the truth. Bigger game coming next week against Dundee, you know, that'll be massive, and I would guarantee you that the crowd at that game will be bigger than 3 of the crowds at the SPL on Sunday.
And we'll get resign if it's not. We always used to do that on Radio Clyde with Big DJ. He'd make a proclamation like that, we'd go, will you go if it's not? But you gave the same answer as Big Derek did as well. Well, I'm looking at it right now. It's massive, isn't it? There's only 2 points between you, and Queen's Park, they're in the box seat in that division.
Yeah, they got a very late goal on Friday night against Cove to win that, and their next 2 games are, I think, Inverness at home and Arbroath at home. So if they pick up 9 points for the 3 games, they've already got 3. I think they're going to be, you know, quite a distance clear. And Dundee play Thistle next week, so you know, I think the bookies have got it between Queen's Park and Dundee now in terms of even money each or 2. I think it's going to be they 2 who goes and wins it. And they play each other in the last game of the season at Queen's Park. So I think if you're a Dundee fan, you would maybe settle for winner takes all now at the minute, because Queen's Park have got a chance to really put the foot to the floor now. Yeah.
A couple of other stories I want to get your thoughts on, guys. We'll give you the answer to the quiz as well. Don't forget, another chance to win in the competition too. But Ruffy, Brian Gunn's son Angus has switched his allegiance from England to Scotland, and I think it's A-OK, you know. I mean, I think he's probably looked at it and thought, stand a better chance now when you consider the Scotland goalkeepers that have retired and what we have available. I think if you're Xander Clark, you're a wee bit miffed, because he clearly is well worthy of inclusion in these up-and-coming internationals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when he names the 3. You know, he's not said who's going to be number 1, you know. So that'll be interesting. I think Xander Clark has had a great season. But they think very highly of this boy Gunn. You know, he's played, I think it's 7 or 8, under 21, England under 21. And I'm sure his dad would have a bit of influence in having him to decide to come to Scotland. So, no, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know much about him. Obviously, he's at Norwich, but highly recommended. So let's see how good he is.
Yeah, and of course, with that, the only downside to it all is you know, if you're on social media, they've checked his tweets from before. You know, that's the great thing about it. There are a group of people who've got nothing better to do with their time than just searching people's social media to see if they've said anything. So they like the cancel culture.
They like to tweet saying Scotland weren't there and England were there or something. Something to do anti-Scottish or whatever. But no, I think he's a really good goalkeeper. I think he
was laughing at Scotland's exit.
I think they've been chasing him for a while. I think he maybe knocked him back earlier well at McLeish, but you know, big Brian Gunn, as you said, he's probably got a big say in it, and Stevie Clark will be delighted. Let's hope that Gunn doesn't get him fired.
Oh, hey, you knew it was coming, Ali. I could see it in his head. I could see it going, just his wheels going round, trying to get in there. But I don't really look into anybody's. I mean, unless it's something absolutely abusive and things like that, and that kills you stone dead. But I don't care about the laughs.
Listen, he's a professional footballer. He's seen an opportunity to play international football. If that works to Scotland's benefit, then you take it. It's as simple as that, and I think if he's included in a squad, he'll be going out and doing his utmost for the Scottish cause and to further them as they look to end their World Cup drought and make it back to a major tournament. I think you've got to use the rules to whatever way benefits you, and if you can bring in quality players going forward, then you do it.
Yeah, but I do think that Xander Clark's performances are well worthy of him getting a shout.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think consistently. I don't think just this season. I think consistency. I think he's been very unlucky just with the quality that's been in front of him at times with David Marshall and Craig Gordon there. I think it's been very, very difficult to dispossess either one of them from there, but I think Xander Clark would definitely be worthy of inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, down south you can thump Manchester United 7-0, then you can lose to Bournemouth. I mean, that's ridiculous. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Clop out.
It just shows you it's been Liverpool all this season, you know, and you're right, you know, I think Klopp's very, very good. You know, I think the season he had last year justifies him getting away with this year, but there has to be a change. You know, I don't think the Liverpool supporters would accept another season like this season. And it remains to be seen who he moves on and who he brings in.
Well, he's not making any excuses about that result.
Setbacks are setbacks, but we are in the situation we are because of the setbacks. That's how it is. And we are in the situation we are because of the good performances as well. So we didn't have only setbacks, but we had too many. That's clear. Today was a proper one, no doubt about that.
It's just an absolute nightmare. I just didn't see that coming, Tam, did you?
No, after sticking 7 by Man United, I think they beat Bournemouth 9-0 at home early in the season, so an absolute shocker, but it just shows you how we love football. Nobody would have seen that result coming, and Liverpool were poor, they were very flat, and Bournemouth ran out comfortable winners, I thought.
And the other thing about it, and this is where I really would like us to, and I think a lot of Scottish people are maybe hankering for it, as we've all been talking about in this show. The one thing about the English Premier League at times, which is so appealing to everyone across the globe, is as well as having that huge financial benefit and able to attract the top players, the nature of the league is that anybody on any given day can beat anyone. You never really know, unless you like the laws of percentages for a Man City say that they're going to win 90% of their games, but you never know what's going to happen elsewhere. I mean, Manchester United beat Real Betis in midweek and then come unstuck again, get a 0-0 draw. It's ridiculous.
I think it's a very competitive league, but at the same time I think both clubs that you've referenced in Liverpool and Man United have been undone at times just by their sheer inconsistency, particularly Liverpool this season, in that you can turn up and wallop Man United 7-0 and then you should be going out and beating Bournemouth. But with all respect to how competitive a league it is and how good Bournemouth can be, or the players that they've got, Liverpool should be beating them. When you look at that team on paper, Liverpool should not be dropping points anywhere near that.
But the point I'm making, Ali, is we would all love that up here. I know Celtic and Rangers fans love to win, but I was brought up in an era, and Ruffy, and you guys know only too well, where you had a good Aberdeen, you had a good Dundee United. Hearts could, produce some really good performances. In Ruffy's time, in the 70s, Ruffy, if it wasn't for Celtic, Hibs would have won the title 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and that just shows, we talked about it earlier in the show there, it's just been a poor Premiership this year. Okay, we're all reveling in what Celtic are doing and Rangers to a certain extent, but way back then they had, I don't know if it's anything to do with the foreigners or whatever, we'd have to sit down and try and analyse that. There wasn't a lot of them going about in the 70s or the 80s. It was all home-based players, and Tam will appreciate, when you pulled on a Hibs jersey, you generally came from that area. Or you pulled on a Hearts jersey and you came from that area, so you knew what it was about playing for these teams. I know things have moved on. Some places it's been for the good, some places it's not been, but I think you lose a wee bit, and Ali touched on it as well. I think you lose in young players breaking through into a first team and becoming really, really good players, and then you sell them on and you make some money. That's changed as well. So, no, I think we're just going through a big transition just now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Manchester United, of course, Casemiro was sent off in that game, much to, I think, the annoyance of Erik ten Hag, who suddenly has to do without a really good player. He's been one of the players I've thoroughly enjoyed, actually, in that league.
Yeah, he's been one of the highlights, I think, so far this season for them. But his reaction was interesting to have been red carded and those around him just when he went off. But I think he leaves a hole. I think that's a big problem now for Man. Is it 2 games? 3 games?
4.
Is it
4? Yeah.
He's out. It's a huge hole.
Yeah, Ten Hag, as you would imagine, is not happy.
And of course, when you freeze it looks bad. But everyone who knows something about football, who was acting on top football, they know what is bad and what isn't bad, what is fair. And I tell you, Casemiro is a really fair player. Tough, but fair. And so when it shows over 500 games in big leagues, never sent off.
Yeah, you're going to miss Fulham, Newcastle, Brentford and Everton.
I don't know if you've seen it in Newcastle. I think that was did you see the goalkeeper yesterday? I thought that was a poor decision.
Yeah, that was amazing. Never get sent off.
That was an absolute shocker.
Even with VAR.
And that was with VAR. And how can you not send the goalkeeper off? He's clearly took the Wolves player out. So no, I thought Pope was blessed with that one.
Yeah, okay. Hey, fantastic. It could be eventually, Ruffy, and I think this is possibly, and I'm not in any way advocating physical abuse, but if they do get really bad, we could revert to our Tiswas days where we either belt him with a cake or we just take a baseball bat out and start scalping his knees. What do you think, Ruffy?
Baseball bat.
Ruffy, I'm quite happy with that, Ruffy. It's just, Alison just looks in pain as she hears each one come out on a Monday. It's terrible. Listen, there's a few people on here, and again, there's an obsession at times. I will mention it. Joe Hart picked something out of the net which was thrown at him, which was from the Hearts end, and this was the end where they brought the singing section out. I think it was a dart. Morons. I don't know what more you can say. I mean, there are people absolutely obsessed with it on here, but Joe Hart put it over to the match official. You're hoping more often than not we don't constantly have to focus on somebody who brought a dart into a ground should be arrested and charged, put in jail.
Just banned. You shouldn't be allowed back anywhere near a ground. It's utter lunacy. But all the see when you look back over the year, Ali, if you look back over the season, in fact a couple of seasons, see when there is an area where we've said, oh, somebody's been throwing things, it's always coming from the ultras section. I can remember Rangers going out to Easter Road, pelted in that corner. Fir Park, it's something that seriously, could get out of hand if you give a whole section to some of these guys who think it's okay to bring a dart or a missile or a lighter.
The only way you're going to stop it is if you name and shame and catch them first of all, and then say, look, put them up there, and this is the guy who's let your club down, this is the guy who's going to get banned, this is the guy who's going to get arrested. And you would like to think the rest of the people run about would say, well, I better watch what I'm doing here, because this could be me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the minority don't think that way.
The CCTV surely will catch them.
That's exactly what I think it can't. It really can't in this day and age be that difficult to identify who's thrown things, because you have to, if you're an away fan, you have to sign up through a process where your name and address is given for you to receive a ticket. If you're a home fan, you're either a season ticket holder or you can isolate that section of the support. You've got CCTV, you've got the police security that can go in and hone in the very area. You can see you can identify who it is that it's coming from. It should not be overly difficult to say who it is. I think what you have to do is just say you're banned from attending football matches. If you're a liability because you can't behave, you simply don't go. And it has to be as black and white as that. A dart, you hit someone in the eye. I know, it's so dangerous. A dart, it's insane. And what possesses you? Everyone loves their club and everyone's fanatical about their club. Go and give your support and whatever else, but you should be defined by the club that you love rather than something or someone that you hate to the extent that you're throwing things.
The one thing I would say, and this is in defence of Anne Budge, when there is somebody who's a nutcase, she's in there and she's got them out. People who were singing songs that were tarnishing the club's name in the last couple of seasons, gone. Whipped them out. So, she runs that club like she would run her family with a decency. So
it landed in the Celtic net?
The dart, yeah.
It landed in Celtic.
Yeah.
Only time Hearts hit the target all day.
There you go. 3. Get the baseball bat out, by the way. Is there any CCTV in here? just so I can scalp them without getting caught, Ruffy. Okay, just before we go, a couple of things. Porto Inter. That one, Inter have a 1-goal advantage, and I don't know if that's going to be enough. And also Man City 1-1 with Leipzig, but Man City are at home.
Yeah, no, I think Milan will get nothing each at that. They're good at that, the Italians.
Yeah.
I think they'll be able to defend that game.
Ali?
Yeah, I think they'll get through. I think it might be quite uncomfortable, but I think they'll go through.
In Man City, no problems.
They'll
get through, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, I think I've got to ask you guys because I've got this feeling that on Wednesday night, you know, Real Madrid, Modric will have a really bad game. The back line will just go to pot, and then Liverpool will absolutely trounce them 4-0, just enough to get through in the Bernabeu.
Have you been watching Liverpool this season?
After being gubbed by Bournemouth, Roffy, they're going to get spanked again in the stadium where I think, is it fair to say, Roffy, that was our best trip of the Champions League? I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Stadium, the seats we had right in the centre circle, it was wonderful, great viewing. They come out with wee packs of food for you.
Oh, I meant to say that to you, Ali. There's a whole pack with all the goodies.
I think
I'm rubbing it in, Al, ain't they?
I think
you get about 3 litres of wine at Liverpool. What are you moaning about?
The Scottish media circles could do with just enhancing their looking after the visiting press at games across the board.
Yeah, if I could just say something to you, Ali. If it was up to the Scottish clubs, there would be no more press. I think that's the way they look at it. Whereas in Europe, they look at it totally differently.
Sometimes you see foreign journalists coming to Celtic Park and Ibrox, and you're going like, we're waiting for food.
No, it's not happening. Well, to be fair, the pies are good. Napoli 2-0 up in Frankfurt, Roffy. I think Napoli could be the dark horses for this tournament.
Yeah. Well, they're going to get tested at some stage in this against one of the big ones.
Yeah, okay. The answer to the quiz. Does anybody want to just jump in here, Roffy?
See if he gets it.
Which club did Rangers sign Alfredo Morelos from?
Do you not know that? How can you not know that?
Finland, the Finnish side.
Finland team.
Starts with an H.
Yeah.
Think of it.
Yeah. Hey, Roffy, well done. I can't believe you didn't say it as an H and a J and a K in it, Ali.
Where did they come for you to get there?
Colombia.
Did they? Colombia?
Yeah.
Finland?
Jet 2.
It was Colombia.
To be fair. Anyway, what about the competition? It's a good one this week.
We have another superb competition here at PLZ Soccer. You can win one of our very own Maestro tops from the PLZ Soccer shop, along with a poster of Celtic legend Danny McGrain or Rangers legend Davy Cooper. All you have to do is answer this simple question: which year did Scotland last qualify for a World Cup? Post your answer in the comment section below, and when we pick our winner, we'll contact you to find out which poster you would like and which colour of Maestro top you would like to wear. And don't forget to double your chances of winning. Hit the like and hit the subscribe button and join us on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
I think anybody who's a follower of Celtic and Rangers, if they pick the blue Maestro top in whatever size, but look at the poster you're getting, two of the greatest players that I've had the good fortune to see in the flesh, Roffy. Is that fair?
I think I'm looking at one of them now, the frame and everything, the picture, it's, as I said earlier, it's real life, and up in your whatever wall you're putting it up, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah,
it looks like that's handy.
It's brilliant, actually. It's the poster, Roffy. It's not the frame as well, because then they need to go and deliver it. Shut it. Don't even open your mouth, by the way. Listen to the competition.
Are you not getting the frame away?
No, it's the poster, and it's the big poster.
It's the big poster. The frame and all.
Can I just say something? Man. Can I just say something to you? Do you want to deliver it? If it's Ben, if it's in Ben Becula,
send it.
It costs you a fortune to send it.
Mint it. Send them the poster.
Listen, just before we go, one of the finest players I've ever seen playing in this league, apart from obviously like with Dalglish, but I think one of the greatest players we've ever produced in this country. It passed away, I think something like 17 years ago today. Roffy, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
He was an absolute. Oh, he was a one-off.
Did you play with him, Al?
Not on the Scotland team, but we played against him, and I think it was one of the best moves we ever had when we won the League Cup final. Ronnie Glavin was told to just take him out.
That's not exactly something to brag about.
No, because he was to take him out because we knew if he'd been on the park for 90 minutes, we wouldn't have won. That shows you how good he was, so it was something that had to be done. But I didn't think Ronnie was going to. I didn't know that Ronnie was going to do it so early. But no, he was a wonderful player and a great wee guy. So funny. I will never forget my one-to-one interview with him in his house. Just absolutely unbelievable. Just a genius, Ali.
Yeah, and I think like lots of players from that generation and that team, like world-class talents, but they all had a humility about them. Yeah. I think they were all very approachable. still all very down to earth, all, even Bertie Auld and everyone, like, all took a call,
Take note.
loved talking about that period. And
Yeah. I love the wee tales that follow
Yeah.
stories, because I'll tell you how good Jimmy Johnson was. There's a great tale where apparently Jock Stein was phoned after the Alfredo Di Stefano testimonial, because Johnson was just outrageous. He was superb on that night, and Real Madrid offered £100,000 for him, and Jock Stein said, "For what game?" And on that note, from Ali, Ruffy, Tam McManus and myself, Peter Martin, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and join the football family. It's absolutely free to watch. We'll see you tomorrow.
Everyone was expecting us